Am I the jerk for not wanting a relationship with my brother? During predolescence, my brother and I were raised in an abusive household. Our mother was a drug addict who constantly had random men over the house and provided an overall unsafe home environment. She would recklessly hire babysitters from Facebook ads, which led to the potential abuse of my brother. He would often make statements asking our grandmother to perform inappropriate acts on him, saying it was what a babysitter did for him. It was not long until my brother began to perform inappropriate acts on me. This went on from the time I was 4 to 6 years old, and my brother was 3 to 5 years old. My mother knew about it and even claimed it was normal. I confessed what had been going on at my mother's house to my grandmother, my father's mother. My father had died when I had just turned 4, and I was living with my mom after they divorced when I was 1. My grandparents immediately filed for custody, which was soon awarded. I did not see my brother much after that because, at the age of 9, I completely cut off communication with my mother. When I was 14, I reached out to my brother after learning he was going to live in Hawaii with his birth father after our mom had a stroke from drug addiction. We met up and my grandparents and I took him out to eat, and we had a good time. Before my brother left for Hawaii, I gave him my number so he could text me. I would soon regret this, as once he was settled into his new living environment, he began to try and FaceTime me every day. At first, I did not mind because I craved a normal sibling bond, but after a while, it began to make me uncomfortable. The more I talked to him and saw him, the more I remembered all the repressed trauma I dealt with in my childhood, so I began to avoid his calls and texts. My family told me that it was not fair to him, and that I was the only family he had left on his mother's side. They also said that the actions he performed on me were not sexual in nature due to our ages, which I agree with, so it was not abuse, which irked me. I do not blame my brother. I am not mad at him. I know children only project their reflections, and the only person to blame for that situation is our mother. But it is still difficult, and I do not know if I will ever be able to have a normal relationship with him. Am I the antagonist? Should I just let it go? Posts discussing violence or sexual assault are not allowed and will be removed. Circumventing these rules can result in a permanent ban, so it's important to adhere strictly to the guidelines. For those seeking help, resources are available at rain.org. If a post is removed, it's best to review the rules and message the mods before resubmitting to avoid any issues. Am I the jerk for trying to stop my partner from gambling? Recently, my boyfriend has been gambling whenever he goes out, and I don't agree with it. He started a couple of months ago, and it seems to be getting worse because he's doing it at every outing. For the first time, he lost money, spending £50 sterling. Although it's not a huge amount, it's still significant, especially considering he complained last week about not having money and sold his £60 sterling concert ticket. I'm upset that he doesn't see how quickly this can go wrong. He seems willing to lose £50 sterling each time, which scares me. He could have used that money for a train ticket to visit me, for food and a nice activity, or even for something fun or for driving lessons. Instead, he got upset with me for being moody. He had a similar mindset when he was getting into debt each month, which thankfully is sorted now. However, I'm worried about what it will be like in the future when he's not in debt and is willing to risk more money to see a profit. He can't afford to waste £50 every time since he's about to be evicted at the end of the month and needs to save money. I understand it's a stressful situation, and maybe he's impulsively doing whatever feels right. I think he might be influenced by the wrong people since his friends got him into it. I'm stressed because he wants to move out with me next year, but I don't want the burden of covering rent, food, etc. if he ever needs help. I even told him I would break up with him if he continued gambling while in debt. Thankfully, I don't think he's in debt anymore, but I might still consider ending things because of the gambling. I don't want to be responsible for the outcome if it gets worse. I'm also upset that he gets mad when I point these things out, even though I try to be nice about it. We had a serious conversation about this months ago, and although he got upset, the truth hurts. He isn't improving, and it's frustrating to see him treat it like it's not a big deal. Am I overreacting because he lost once? He's made more money than he spent, but I still don't want him to develop an addiction. You are not the problem. He is clearly addicted and probably needs professional help. It's important to make sure you stay safe and not be the only one encouraging him to get better. Maybe his family can stage an intervention, but ultimately, it's not up to you to fix this. Am I the jerk for lending my brother my car after he totaled our parents' truck? My brother, a 19-year-old male, was completely spoiled growing up. Our mother's side of the family has always been peculiar about the oldest son, and our father went along with it. My brother turned out a bit pampered. He's a nice enough young man, just prone to activities like drinking, gambling, and partying. Recently, our parents decided they needed to give him more discipline but had not followed through until now. They did not even take action when he got drunk or stayed out late. My brother Jasper does not have a car. He was given one for his 16th birthday, but he did not have his license yet. By the time he got it, something in the engine was not functioning right, and they ended up selling it. Instead, he used our parents' spare truck, which he totaled last week. He was driving home up one of those L-shaped, one-lane mountain roads. The winds picked up, a tree branch fell on the windshield, and in an attempt to get out of the way of traffic that may not have been there, he drove into the bank of the mountain. He admits he was not paying enough attention to the wind and should have pulled over when it started up, and he still could. However, he was not speeding, he was perfectly sober, and even our insurance declared it no fault. But our parents are very upset. They have decided that this is a teachable moment. They have cut off his allowance. They have set a 9:00 p.m. curfew. They have imposed some odd restrictions on his diet. Most relevantly, they have banned him from using their cars or driving at all. He objected to the last one the most since there is literally nowhere in walking distance. They drop him off at his trade school, but that is it. The rest of the time he is trapped at home with them mad at him. They have never been more than slightly disappointed in him before, and he has been calling me in the middle of the night, crying because he thinks they will never forgive him and he does not understand. I go to school nearby and honestly do not need my car much right now, so I lent it to him. He was elated. Our parents were not. They called me up and demanded I take it back or at least give them the tracker for the keys so they can regulate his driving. They said I am enabling him. Enabling what? Him driving under trees? They said he was too used to everything being easy and going his way, which I agree with, but I do not think punishing him for this was the right move. He had called them from the scene expecting at least some comfort over it, and they have instead done a complete reversal on how they have treated him. Still, they are his parents, and all of my other siblings were kind of rooting for him to finally get punished. You behaved properly. If your brother is looking for a job or wants to re-enroll in trade school, he definitely needs a car, but you're the one to decide if he can use yours. It's reasonable to set conditions like only using it for school or work and never driving intoxicated. Your parents' reaction seems a bit over the top, as curfews and dietary restrictions won't prevent accidents from happening. Am I the jerk for making a joke to my Fmil? Hello everyone. This just happened, so it's still fresh. I live with my boyfriend and his mother, and most of the time everything is perfectly fine. Occasionally, she makes fun of me or others, but when anyone jokes with her, she plays the victim. She often makes fun of my pickiness with food. I don't eat a variety of foods or try new things often. I usually stick to my normal cheeseburger or chicken tenders. She enjoys cooking different foods for everyone, but I frequently don't eat what she cooks, which is normally okay. I encourage her to make the foods she wants, even if I don't eat them, because I don't have a big appetite. Recently, she was going through the cabinets to find something to eat and was discussing getting groceries for the week. She was unsure of what to get for me and suggested I make a list of what I would eat. She said this while laughing, so I joked that I would just write nothing on it. I laughed and it was clearly a joke. She didn't understand, so I explained that I don't eat much, so I would just write nothing. She then started sarcastically laughing and accused me of being a smart mouth. My boyfriend, who was sitting next to me, told her I wasn't being a smart mouth, and she got quiet. She left whatever she had out and went to her room, slamming the door. She said she was just trying to be nice. I never said I wouldn't appreciate her efforts. I was making a joke that she and my boyfriend often make about me. I was stunned, asking my boyfriend what I did wrong, and he assured me that I didn't do anything wrong and that he didn't know what was wrong with her. He went to her room to ask what happened, and she repeated that she was trying to be nice. He explained that we understood, but it was a joke not aimed at her. She kept repeating the same things, and he eventually gave up. I feel bad because I was honestly making a self-directed joke, not one aimed at her. It's also my boyfriend's birthday, and now his mother doesn't want to be with us. I just don't know if I did something wrong. Thank you for reading. Sounds like your boyfriend's mom is having a bit of a tantrum, which might be her way of controlling the family dynamic. It seems like there might be some cultural differences at play if she's really invested in her cooking and took your comments the wrong way. Even if she jokes about you being a picky eater, it's probably because she cares deeply about the impression her food makes. If you're thinking about sticking around for the long haul, it might be wise to consider getting your own place to maintain some distance from her influence. Would I be the jerk? Navigating cultural differences and unwanted expectations, a tale of hospitality gone wrong. While waiting in front of a cafe, I unexpectedly encountered a fellow countryman. He approached me rudely, asking for directions to his hotel. Initially taken aback, I soon realized this was merely a cultural difference and chose to overlook his rudeness, gladly guiding him to his destination. As our conversation unfolded, I learned that he was visiting for an ocular operation at a prestigious eye clinic. Given the rampant corruption in my country, I could not help but question the legitimacy of his finances. Our discussion began with general topics but quickly escalated to exploring educational opportunities and my aspirations to engage in trade with my homeland. The following day, he called me, seeking recommendations for places to visit. I suggested a trendy area by the port filled with upscale restaurants, which sparked his desire to extend his stay. I enthusiastically shared everything he wanted to know about the country. The next day, he introduced me to his uncle, who had accompanied him to support him during his eye clinic visits. Together, the three of us went to the clinic, where the public relations and marketing atmosphere made me uneasy. Many Gulf patients were present, and I expected to translate for the doctor. However, an administrative staff member handled it instead, leading to a disorienting day. This administrator even gave me her personal number, offering to help me find a job and residence. As his visit continued, our relationship deepened. Yet I sensed a growing desperation within myself, a profound longing to return home to pursue business opportunities. Although our communication increased, I began to notice an elitist attitude emerging from him. He criticized me for not praying and for keeping my personal life private. While I was uncomfortable with his judgments, I hesitated to confront him about crossing my boundaries. Our interactions with his uncle often left me feeling disrespected, as he would repeatedly slap me playfully, ignoring my requests for respect. When the hotel prices increased, they needed to relocate. The uncle initially sought my assistance, which I was happy to provide. However, my countrymen pressured me to visit every hotel in the area. After a lengthy search, I finally secured a place in Seville, but I could not get a refund for the initial reservation. Frustrated by the lack of gratitude and feeling emotionally entangled, I managed to find another hotel and booked it for them, receiving repayment plus extra money. During our conversations about my business ideas, he offered valuable advice, emphasizing the importance of documentation to protect all parties involved in business contracts. This gesture built my trust in him, and I introduced him to a business contact in Egypt who worked at a bank. To my surprise, they quickly bonded and agreed on importing cement from Egypt. I felt hesitant to ask for a commission for the introduction, keeping that feeling to myself. Just yesterday, my business associate in Egypt informed me they were preparing for an advance payment, and I felt betrayed that my friend had not mentioned anything about the transaction. As my countryman's visit drew to a close, his uncle instructed me to host him for 3 days and take good care of him. The uncle expressed his gratitude and told me that if I ever needed a business opportunity back home, I should never hesitate to contact him. Despite his esteem, I felt hesitant because he is a man of importance, but his humility and empathy never showed. These days proved to be challenging. In my own home, he imposed his rules. During 2 outings, he convinced me that I should pay for everything, manipulating the conversation to suggest that it was an Arab custom to be generous and selfless. Eventually, I realized I was losing a significant amount of money. When I confronted him, he erupted in anger, claiming my kindness would be repaid when my father received an invitation, emphasizing that my father's esteemed lineage in our country warranted such respect. He then suggested we could end our relationship if I was unhappy. I am now at a crossroads, trying to assert myself in this relationship while continuing to support him. I have conducted extensive research as he considers studying English, reaching out to schools, soliciting pricing information, and meticulously exploring lodging and living expenses. Meanwhile, I feel blindsided by the realization that the cement business does not involve me at all. Please make sure to keep your post under the 3,000 character limit to avoid removal. Consider submitting a shorter version to ensure it stays up. Remember, continuing your post in the comments or linking to additional text is not allowed. Be sure to read the rules thoroughly before reposting to prevent further issues. Am I the jerk for telling my parents I don't want my friend to live with us? Hi, I'll try to keep it short. I am a 14-year-old girl and I don't want my friend, a 15-year-old boy named Max, to live with us. His parents don't make much money and plan to move farther away from our school. Max's energy is becoming too much for me. He has undiagnosed ADHD and his parents do not believe in mental illness. I don't want him living with us because my parents are already unstable and fight all the time. It is embarrassing for me and unfair to him to witness that. I have 3 younger siblings and my parents already have a hard time with us. My little sister attempted something serious earlier this year, but she is in therapy now. I don't think it's the best idea for Max to be here. I can't handle it because I already use a lot of my energy at school to avoid getting bullied again. Max comes over every day after school and it's draining. I feel like I have to entertain him and it's making me start to resent him. Even if we don't interact, he is loud and my house echoes. My parents struggle with mental illness. I feel that if we add another person to the house, everyone will suffer. I have brought these issues up with my parents, and it feels like they care more about his feelings than mine. They come from similar backgrounds to him, but it feels like everyone's problems are important except mine. For example, I needed glasses since I was little, but I didn't get them until 2nd grade. I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until last year, even though they knew I had it when I was little. It feels like they don't care or understand how I feel. I love my parents and am grateful for what I have, but it feels like they aren't listening. I have talked to my best friend about this, but he doesn't have a solution. I don't think my parents care. Last time I tried to keep Max out of the house, my parents got extremely mad at me. I don't have many friends because I have moved all my life, so I don't have anyone else to ask for advice. Am I just a spoiled child or am I right in my stance? I truly have no clue what to do. You handled things appropriately. Living with a friend can definitely be overwhelming. It's important for parents to consider how their decisions impact everyone in the household, especially if it's causing stress. Your friend could explore options like living independently or finding another family to stay with. Keep communicating your feelings to your parents, and hopefully, they'll understand where you're coming from. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.